She called 911 because our gate was locked, but 5 minutes later she was in handcuffs. All my wife did was secure our property. And that sent the HOA president into a meltdown so loud. Me birds left the county. She thought she'd teach us a lesson about obeying rules. Instead, she became the punchline of her own emergency call. Her 911 call became the most satisfying karma I've ever witnessed. Me, how does someone calling for help end up in handcuffs? Comment where you're watching from. The morning it all began was one of those perfect California mornings that made you forget all your troubles. Me. The trouble began when my wife Lorraine did something unforgivable. She locked the gate. Not with chains, flames, or lasers, just a regular key lock. But to Donna, me, that act was the equivalent of spray painting, Diobu and Dalhthcrabu, on Buckingham Palace. She marched over like Moses descending from the HOA mountain, waving a clipboard and screaming, "Me. That gate violates section 3.1.4 of the Neighborhood Harmony Doctrine." Lorraine, ever the patient gardener, blinked like a slow sunrise and replied, "Didn't realize what offended you." Me, Donna. That didn't help. Then came the fines. A letter arrived the next day, declaring we owed $100 per day until the gate was removed, or we were. I laughed. Lorraine didn't. She stared at that letter the way a lion stares at a slow jogger, calm, quiet, calculating. She thinks I'm scared of paper. Lorraine muttered, "Me. I built a life from feathers and eviction notices." I'd seen that look before. The last time a car dealership tried to cheat her out of $500 in trade and credit. The dealership no longer exists. The straw that broke the henhouse came when Donna brought up Lorraine's past. "You've been evicted before, haven't you?" she hissed. "Some people just can't handle structure." It hit Lorraine like a slap wrapped in a spreadsheet. You don't bring up the chicken story, not unless you want a front row seat to your own downfall. That night, Lorraine didn't cry. She sharpened pencils. She pulled out old legal pads. She Googled until her eyes looked like search engines. And when she finally spoke, her voice was cold enough to ice sunflowers. She wants a war over a gate. Let's give her a history lesson. Because here's the twist Donna never saw coming: that gate wasn't just decorative, it was historical. Built before the HOA even existed. Me, protected by a grandfather clause so ironclad it might as well have come with a notarized middle finger. Lorraine found the documentation tucked inside a dusty county record like buried treasure. We weren't just right, we were untouchably, legally, gloriously right. "Let her keep swinging that clipboard," Lorraine said. Me. "She's about to hit a wall. Ever had someone push you too far, and you found your fire? Tell us your turning point in the comments. Me, you haven't lived until a chicken named Bessie gets you evicted and judged by 30 strangers with pitchfork energy. Some people find religion. Lorraine found resistance, covered in feathers and holding an egg. Me. It started 5 years ago, back in an apartment complex run by a different HOA Hydra. Lorraine, soft-hearted and slightly feral in the best way, rescued 3 hens from a closing farm. Me. Named them like old church ladies Bessie, Pearl, and Glades. She built them a coop on the balcony, cleaner than most people's kitchens, with nesting boxes that probably had better insulation than our first home. Me. But one neighbor, code name Snitchy McWinesalot, reported her for harboring unsanctioned livestock. The HOA turned on her like they'd found Satan himself roosting next to their begonias. They didn't even pretend to be civil. One woman actually said, "This isn't Green Acres, it's a community." Lorraine was dragged into a meeting that felt more Salem than suburbia. Me. Shamed like she'd committed chicken treason. She cried, packed up Bessie and her sisters, drove them to a sanctuary, and moved out 2 weeks later. It broke her. But here's the twist. Me. While they laughed about her birds, she learned their language, legalese. Google became her therapist. YouTube became her law school. Back in the present. Me. As Donna's fake fines piled up like parking tickets from an imaginary sheriff, Lorraine struck gold. A county zoning map older than Donna's spray tan revealed what the HOA didn't want anyone to know. Me, our beloved gate predated the entire neighborhood charter. Built in the 70s, never moved, never modified. It was a legal relic. Me grandfathered in like your weird uncle at family dinners. Untouchable and immune to new rules. Her clipboard holds no power here. Lorraine said, me, printing copies of statutes like she was launching a political campaign. The next HO letter arrived that week. Bold font, bold threats, same old signature, Donna Penrose, President Enforcer. Me, Queen of Collapsing Escrows. Lorraine didn't flinch. She attached the county documents, highlighted like a murder board. Me, and wrote a cover letter so polite it threatened to file for psychological damages if read twice. "We appreciate your concern, but unfortunately, me, your fines are as enforceable as monopoly money." I watched Donna read it from across the street. Eyes twitching, lips pressed tight like her Spanx were losing structural integrity. She stomped away muttering, "This isn't over. That night, Lorraine slid a fresh manila envelope into our filing cabinet labeled, Petty Wars Volume I. She turned to me with a fire I hadn't seen since the chicken days. She broke me once, Lorraine said, but I learned the rules this time, and now I write the playbook. Revenge wasn't just a dish best served cold, it was laminated, notarized, and stored in triplicate. What breaks you once might be what builds your future armor. Ever turned your biggest heartbreak into your boldest win? Drop your story in the comments. We're building an army of comeback chickens. You ever love someone so much, you let them turn your porch into the Pentagon? Lorraine didn't get mad, she got solar-powered motion sensors, heat maps, and a doorbell that screams, "Who let the dogs out?" at 110 decibels. By Tuesday, our home had more surveillance than a Vegas casino. Every angle, every shadow, every decorative gnome now had a camera inside it, probably even the hose reel. Lorraine ran wires with the intensity of a bomb technician on a countdown, muttering things like probable cause and evidentiary chain, like she was born in a courtroom. Meanwhile, I stood by holding zip ties and wondering how we went from tomatoes to techno war in under 72 hours. Then came the clipboard drop-off. Donna waddled by like a duck with a grudge, pretending not to notice the new, "Smile, you're on Candid Karma," sign Lorraine had stapled to the oak tree. She shoved a fake fine under our door so hard it scraped the tile. Unauthorized fencing materials, it read, which was wild, because we didn't install anything, unless Donna considered sunlight a zoning violation. Lorraine laughed like a Bond villain and labeled the document, Exhibit D for dumb. Later that night, Lorraine whispered the words I knew meant trouble. Something stinks in the HOA budget, and it's not the compost pile. Turns out Donna had billed the community 4th 200 for seasonal flora beautification in December, when the only thing blooming was her ego. Lorraine pulled receipts, compared check numbers, and mumbled, "If she bought 4th 200 worth of poinsettias, then I'm the Queen of Denmark." I said, "Long live the Queen," and ducked before she threw a highlighter. By Thursday, Lorraine had enough suspicious spending highlighted to start her own IRS field office. She found vendor names like Suburban Plant Solutions LLC that turned out to be registered to P.O. Boxes in the same strip mall as Donna's yoga studio. Even better, Lorraine tracked a 3 to 100 expense for community wellness signage to a place that exclusively sells novelty socks and wind chimes. "Marcus," she said, holding up the invoice. "She's laundering money through yard art." The final straw was Donna's latest letter. "Sees aggressive gardening tactics." Lorraine blinked twice, then said, "I hope she brings that energy to court, because I'm going to bury her in paperwork and heirloom kale." And with that, she slid our HOA bylaws into a 3-ring binder so thick it needed its own ZIP code. Sometimes paranoia is just preparation waiting for its vindication date. Ever felt someone was watching you, and turned the tables instead? Share your boldest reversal moment below. Donna sent us 2 tons of manure like it was a floral arrangement from Satan's greenhouse. But Lorraine didn't cry, she composted. And what was meant to bury us just grew the legend. Donna's revenge truck rolled in at 7:03 a.m., wheezing like a mechanical buffalo full of secrets. The driver, who looked like he'd seen too much in life, double-checked the address with the caution of a man about to commit a felony. Donna stood there in her pilate's pantsuit, sipping a green juice like she was blessing a sacrifice. "Right here," she snapped, pointing to our gate like she was lining up an airstrike. The truck rumbled, the manure spilled, and the stench punched our neighborhood square in the nose. I opened the door and gagged so hard I saw my 3rd-grade teacher. But Lorraine, that woman stepped onto our porch with the calm of a goddess and said, honey," grabbed the camera and the pitchfork. She slapped a sign on the pile that read, "Free organic compost, HOA sponsored, first come, first served." Within 10 minutes, 3 neighbors had showed up with buckets, 2 brought wheelbarrows, and 1 guy just used a crock pot. Donna stood frozen on the curb, watching her rage-fueled attack turn into a county fair. Lorraine passed out seed packets labeled, "Grow tomatoes, not tyrants." People were laughing, trading eggplant advice, and filming TikToks with the caption, "When your HOA beef becomes fertilizer." Donna stormed over, red-faced and vibrating like an overcooked microwave burrito. "This was not for community use," she hissed. Lorraine just sipped lemonade and smiled. "Oh Donna, your hate made our harvest. Consider this mulching for morale." By sunset, 80% of the poop pile was gone. Our front lawn looked like a drive-through for eco-friendly gardeners. Donna walked back to her house with cow patties on her designer shoes and a permanent frown carved into her Botox. But the real beauty, Lorraine logged it as a donation in the HOA records, line items, unauthorized organic outreach. Her receipts had receipts. And Donna, she had no clue that every step she took just fertilized our case. Control the story and the stink becomes fertilizer. Marcus, Lorraine said. Go get the pitchfork. It's harvest season, and I'm not talking tomatoes. What's the funniest revenge that backfired on your enemy? Let us know, especially if it involves farm equipment. Donna bragged she found our blind spot. We handed her a crowbar and hit record. Lorraine knew Donna was watching like a possum on caffeine, convinced there was one angle we hadn't covered, so she played possum right back. We adjusted one camera just slightly, enough to scream, malfunction, to a nosy control freak. Lorraine even posted on Facebook, need someone to fix our busted cam. Can't catch a break. It was bait wrapped in sarcasm, and Donna swallowed it whole. At 6:55 a.m., Donna arrived dressed like a burglar who moonlighted as a Zumba instructor, all black workout gear. Designer sunglasses, and a purse big enough to hide legal regret. She crept to the gate, squatted like a raccoon on trial, and whispered, "They'll never know." Then she pulled out a literal crowbar. Yes, folks, a crowbar, in broad daylight. On a Monday, the new micro camera, buried in a garden gnome's nose, mind you, captured it all. Donna jimmied the lock, kicked over a planter, and declared to no one, "This is what happens when you ignore HOA leadership." She stomped our marigolds like they owed her money. The woman was halfway through her villain monologue when she realized she was locked in. Lorraine had installed a self-latching gate. Donna shook it and screamed, "I'm trapped! Call the police!" Like a cartoon burglar who just discovered cartoon justice. The cops arrived 4 minutes later. Their faces halfway between curiosity and disbelief. Donna waved her arms like she was guiding a plane off the runway. "They locked me in! I demand charges!" One officer calmly asked, "Ma'am, did you enter without permission?" Donna gasped. "They left it open on purpose?" She tried to look victimized. But it's hard to cry injustice when you're holding a crowbar and wearing 200 yoga pants covered in topsoil. Lorraine, holding her tablet like a golden ticket, stepped forward and tapped play. The footage showed every step, every stomp, every insult. The timestamp glowed like divine comedy. The soundtrack, our doorbell playing, "Ooh, let the dogs out," the moment she busted the lock. One officer turned away to hide his laugh. The other said, "Mom, we're gonna need you to come with us. When someone shows you who they are, press record. Call the police." Donna shrieked. "I'm trapped." She'd trapped herself. Ever baited someone and caught more than you hoped for? Share the story that still makes your group chat cackle. Donna called 911 to report a hostage situation. 5 minutes later, she was the one in cuffs, covered in fertilizer and failure. I always thought the most embarrassing way to go viral would involve karaoke and bad tequila. Turns out, it's calling 911 while holding a crowbar, surrounded by begonias you personally destroyed. Donna thought she'd set the trap, until she realized she was the bait, the attacker, and the punchline. She paced around our flower beds like a dictator whose coup was running late, still yelling about being detained on property she'd just broken into. "Help me. They locked me in like prisoners in their compound," she screeched, arms flailing as if she'd been captured by tomato farmers with a vengeance. Our neighbors peeked from behind blinds like it was community theater and Donna was starring in a one-woman circus with no intermission. She didn't know we'd sent the footage to Officer Rachel, a calm, 6-foot-tall woman who looked like she'd tackled bigger Karens before breakfast. The squad car rolled in with the kind of irony you could slice with a spatula. Rachel stepped out, looked at Donna, then at us, then back at Donna, now hyperventilating in our mulch. "Mom," Rachel said slowly, "are you claiming you're the victim while holding a crowbar? Standing in a yard you don't own?" Donna snapped back with the confidence of someone who had never faced a consequence. "I am the law here." Lorraine handed Rachel the tablet like she was presenting a wedding ring. The footage rolled Donna slinking around like a B-grade villain, smashing locks, kicking flower pots, and narrating her crimes in real time like a podcast no one asked for. "They can't stop me. I built this neighborhood," she had shouted, right before tripping over our welcome mat and face-planting into a gnome. The gnome survived. Donna's reputation didn't. "Is this live footage?" Rachel asked. "Mom, this was 3 minutes ago." Donna blinked, finally realizing she wasn't starring in a drama, she was featured in evidence. "I'm calling my lawyer," she hissed. "You can't arrest me. I'm the president of this street." Rachel nodded, already reaching for the cuffs. "You're about to be the defendant of it too." The moment her wrists clicked behind her back, the crowd started clapping. It was slow at first, like polite applause at a third-grade recital, then grew into a standing ovation. Mr. Berkowitz yelled, "Encore?" Donna just growled, "A growl!" Like a suburban werewolf in Ann Taylor slacks. But the cherry on top, as she was being escorted to the patrol car, she turned and screamed, "They've been plotting this for months." Lorraine waved. "Ma'am, this isn't a plot, it's a response." Donna's legs buckled. For a second I thought she might faint, but it turned out she just slipped on her own manure delivery from last week. The smell of poetic justice. Me earthy, damp, with notes of desperation. Rachel turned to us before shutting the cruiser door. We'll file this under criminal trespass, property damage, and misuse of emergency services. Oh, me. And false imprisonment, against herself. Lorraine smiled like a woman who had just seasoned her revenge with basil. Don't forget attempted garden homicide. She stepped on my rosemary. Back inside me. We collapsed on the couch as the viral notifications started. Video clips from 5 different neighbors. Screenshots already circulating. Karen arrested by her own call. Trended before noon. My favorite comment. That gnome deserves a medal. If you're gonna lie to the cops, don't do it while live streaming. Lorraine scrolled through her inbox and smirked. Me. Looks like Donna's HOA expense reports just became public record. What's the most ridiculous lie you've ever seen unravel in real time? Donna's mugshot made it to Reddit. By noon, she was trending below, Florida alligator and drive-through. It started with a hashtag #AgateJustice. Then came the remixes. One video had Donna's crowbar swing synths to Beyonce's Single Ladies. Another overlaid her tantrum with Beethoven's Fifth. Internet creativity had turned HO drama into performance art. Overnight, Donna wasn't just a neighborhood nuisance. She was a cautionary tale in mascara and court dates. The official charges dropped like a bad mixtape: criminal trespass, property damage, misuse of 911. Me and HOA fund embezzlement totaling 70 as all ozen. News anchors couldn't resist. Queen Donna dethroned by her own manure. Read one Chiron. Even Good Morning Boys did a segment titled When Karen Meets Consequences. Me. We didn't even know we got boys. To cover restitution and fines, Donna sold her precious white brick colonial at a $250,000 loss. A young couple bought it and announced plans to paint the door barn red. Me. The first thing they did, ask Lorraine if they could add a second gate, rustic style. Donna's legacy was now the architectural version of a cancelled sitcom, briefly famous, quickly regretted. Me. But the real fireworks came at the emergency HOA election. The ballot was longer than Donna's denial emails, but the turnout was record-breaking. Retirees, young couples, me. Even the goth teens from the Cole, D-Sac, they all showed up to vote her empire into extinction. 5 new board members were elected, and none of them owned a clipboard. Me. Lorraine was nominated for the presidency but declined with a smile sharp enough to prune roses. I'll lead from my backyard, she said. With basil, not bylaws. Her influence, though, unmistakable. Me. The new board's first act, declaring her gate a protected, historical folk asset, and slashing HOA fees by 30%. Turns out, when you're not paying for fertilizer, based revenge and legal fees, you can afford new playground mulch and functioning street lights. That weekend, the entire neighborhood threw what they called the death-running barbecue. Someone brought Donna-shaped piatas. Kids lined up to whack her with pool noodles while their parents cheered. Lorraine grilled vegetables from our now famous compost-fueled garden. The tomatoes, award-winning. The salsa, spicy justice. Then came the local reporter from the County Chronicle. How does it feel to be a symbol of community resilience? They asked. Lorraine took a sip from her mug and deadpanned. Like I've been fertilized by fury and watered by petty. The quote made page 1. I married a poet with a grudge and a garden. By Monday, people were calling Lorraine for advice. Not just locals. Me folks from 3 states over. What do I do if my HOA finds me for shadow length? One woman asked. Can I send them manure? A man from Texas offered. Me. Lorraine started hosting informal, gate talks, on Sundays. She called it Composting Council. We still kept the security cameras, but now they were more for memory than protection. Every so often, a tourist would drive by to snap a photo of the famous gate. Once, someone even left a bouquet with a notie. Thank you for standing up, me. We didn't think we could either. Power built on fear always dissolves in daylight. Lorraine raised her coffee mug over the gardens. To manure, me. The gift that kept on giving. What HOA story do you wish would go viral for justice? Drop it below, give us a like if petty revenge ever saved your peace, and don't forget to subscribe 6 months later, me. Donna showed up in a worn-out delivery uniform with a package and regret in her shoes. The doorbell blared, who let the dogs out, at full volume. Me, which usually meant a neighbor kid dropping off eggs or a solicitor learning about boundaries. Lorraine peeked through the peephole and nearly dropped her coffee. There she was, Donna. Sans clipboard, sans ego, me. Wearing a faded polo with a shipping logo that looked like it hadn't been washed since the recession. Her hat was pulled low, me. But that chin, the one that used to point at violations like a divining rod, was unmistakable. Donna shuffled like regret had weighed down her spine. She set the package on our porch with the caution of someone who once delivered lawsuits instead of mail. Lorraine stood there, silent, sipping from her queen of tomatoes, mug like it was filled with karma. The neighbors were already peeking through blinds like it was garbage day and the truck was 20 minutes late. Donna turned to leave, but Lorraine stepped forward, not fast, just firm. "Hey Donna," she said. No sarcasm, no venom, just the kind of calm that comes from planting your anger in the dirt and watching it sprout basil. Donna froze like someone who expected tomatoes, maybe literal ones, thrown at her. Instead, Lorraine reached into her pocket and handed her $5. A tip. For the delivery. For the humiliation. For the years Donna tried to break her. "Thank you," Lorraine said, like it was just another Tuesday and not a karmic season finale. Donna took the money with trembling fingers, muttered something unintelligible, and disappeared down the driveway. That afternoon, Lorraine packed 3 dozen jars of our homemade salsa into a basket and made deliveries of her own. Each jar had a custom label, and made possible by HOA mismanagement. It featured a cartoon tomato wearing a tiny crown, standing proudly in front of our now protected gate. "Should we really do this?" I asked. "One, it seemed petty." Lorraine grinned. "It's not petty. It's pickled justice." And they asked for more after the last batch. The county fair judges didn't even blink when they saw our salsa entry. They tasted it, they wept, they asked for the recipe, and Lorraine replied, "Revenge." Compost and good heirloom stock. It won first place, a blue ribbon, and a gift card to Tractor Supply, which Lorraine used to buy a new wheelbarrow. The old one still had bits of Donna's donation baked into the rust. Sentimental manure, Lorraine called it. We held one last barbecue before fall set in. Everyone showed up, neighbors, reporters, even the new HOA president who brought homemade pie and 0 legal threats. As the sun dipped low, Lorraine raised her mug and gave one final toast to Donna. "May she find peace, may we find peppers, and may all our problems come fertilized." The crowd roared, even the skeptical ones laughed. Someone shouted, "Long live the tomato queen." As the last jar of salsa was passed to a neighbor and the party winded down, Lorraine sat back in her favorite chair, paint-stained, slightly lopsided, but hers. Not once did she say, "I told you so." She didn't need to. The gate still stood, stronger than ever. The fines were gone. The HOA had turned human. And the same woman once labeled barnyard trash was now the tomato queen of Maple Run. She looked over at me and said, "Funny how manure can either make a mess or make a miracle. It just depends on whether you plant something in it." And that's where the story lands. This wasn't just about winning a battle against a petty tyrant with a clipboard addiction. This was about community, about courage, about the moment you stop apologizing for your roots and start fertilizing your legacy. So what can we learn from Lorraine? That the same pain meant to bury you can be the soil that grows your biggest comeback. That standing up for yourself doesn't always look like a fight. It can look like salsa, smiles, and a gate that refuses to fall. So if you enjoyed this journey from fertilizer to folklore, drop us a comment below. What would you have done with Donna's donation? Would you compost it or catapult it? Hit that like button if you believe real power isn't loud, it's rooted. And subscribe if you want more stories where revenge is clever, community is real, and legends grow from the unlikeliest places. Because around here we don't just survive the storm, we jar it, and we serve it with chips. Thanks for watching. Got your own HOA horror story? Drop it in the comments. Let's laugh at the madness together, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow we have another incredible story.